Graphic design used to take a lot of time, money, and expensive softwares like Photoshop. In the generation of AI, everything is changing. With the launch of Google's image generation model Nano Banana, everything is going bonkers. Costs are reduced, the time has reduced, and character consistency is really amazing. And brands these days are creating ads in hundreds to see what works, what doesn't, and the cost of these graphic designing is going absolutely bonkers. According to Fiverr, a freelancing website, a graphic design can take anywhere from $25 to $100, $200 per image. But with Google Gemini, you can do so in a very cost efficient manner. And if you add a layer of automation to it, you can create hundreds of creatives in just minutes at a fraction of the cost. Today, I'm going to be showing you a system that takes your product image and your base direction in mind and creates multiple variations of ad creatives as you want and at a fraction of a cost. It just costs around 4 cents per image, and if you take even the cost for prompt generation, it costs less than 5 cents an image overall, which is just really amazing. And I'm going to be using n8n, an open source AI automation platform which has been going absolutely bonkers. And big enterprises are using it extensively, starting from Vodafone, Music Match, Stepstone Group, and there are so many case studies here. The agenda for today is first, we'll talk about the tools that we are going to be using, then we'll quickly look at the system structure that we are trying to build, and then we'll build it live step by step. And if you just want the workflow, you can go to my free school community, link is in the description, and get it from there as well. So let's talk about the tools used. We're going to use n8n as I talked about. We will use OpenAI's API to create prompts and analyze the base image. Then we'll be using OpenRouter's API basically to call Nano Banana. And OpenRouter is basically a space where you can have 500 plus models in one setting. So it's really convenient and flexible. And then you have Google Sheets and Google Drive to store all your data and your images. Now let's see what the system structure and workflow is going to be. So I'm going to start with the basic image and a prompt, which is just like a direction that I have in my mind. Then I'll create ideas based on it, and it will be powered by GPT-5 Mini, and then we'll use an output parser. Output parser is basically a way of telling the AI that, this is the output you have given, I want this in this particular format. And then we'll create final prompts basis the ideas and variations that you have created. We'll give it to Nano Banana to generate the images, and then we'll download and store those for future references. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. You're first going to go to n8n.io, link is in the description. You're going to sign in, create your account, and then this is a kind of screen that you will get. Now you won't get these folders because those are my workflows, but you're going to come to the top right and click on create workflow. Now this is the blank canvas that you get when you create a new workflow. We'll click on the plus button here and search for form. We are basically telling it how should you start the workflow or how should you trigger the workflow. And we are using form to give it inputs like product image, the direction that you have in mind, and the number of variations you want to create. And this is just like a Google form. And you can use other triggers as well. You can connect it to your systems and use an API or a webhook call as well. Now I'll just configure this. So for the form title, I'll write add details. And then I'm going to add form element, just like you add different form questions in Google Sheets. The first is going to be product image, and then the type, we will keep it as a file. Now I'm going to click it required field, and I'm going to remove the multiple files for now. I'm going to add another form element here, and it is going to be the specific direction we have. And we will change it to text area, that is basically just means long text. And then lastly, we are going to add the number of variations. It's going to obviously be a number, and then we will say placeholder max 10. The idea is we want to create it just for demo, and 10 is good enough for a demo. Now I'll just change this to add details. Now let's just test this step. We're clicking on execute workflow, and then we need to choose the image that we have in mind. So I'll just take a moisturizer's image. I'll give it a direction. So I've given it a prompt, and basically I've said create images for people using moisturizer on face and make sure it is properly formatted. For variations, I'm going to select 5, and I'm going to click on submit here. This has been recorded, so I'll just close this and I can just click on this and see here. I can see the product image here and I can see my prompt here and the number of variations. So if you're new to this, the right side is basically the output, left side is the input, and the middle section is the configurations section. And since it is the first node, we don't have an input section yet. Now we are going to add analyze image node using OpenAI. So basically what we are trying to do is understand the image and create a text kind of input for it. And for the models, I'm going to use GPT-4o. And if you want help connecting OpenAI with your n8n instance, I have created a 2-minute credential video, and on the top right you can check it out. Now this is the text input, so I'll just copy the prompt that I have created for this, and basically it just tells you the directions, and it follows the agent framework, which is A for ask, G for guide, E for example, N for narrow, and T for test. And you don't need to worry about this. This is basically written by ChatGPT, and don't worry, if you want this, you can find it in my school community along with the other resources I'll give. And for input type, we need to click on binary files. As you can see on the left side, it is a binary file that we have. So I've clicked on that, and then for the input data field name, I'm going to remove data, and I'm going to copy this product underscore image and paste it here because that's what the name is. I'll now add a Google Drive node. So basically I want to store this image as well. You can skip this step if you don't want, but that's okay. So I'm going to click on upload file here, and then again, if you want to know how to set up this in your n8n instance, I've created a video just on Google credentials, linked it at the top. It's very quick and easy to do so. Now again, the data field name needs to change from data to product image. For the file name, I just want it to be named as moisturizer. So what I'm going to do is create a command which gives it the name as moisturizer. And again, I used ChatGPT for this, and I didn't use anything else. Now you can select the drive and the folder in it. I have just created a folder for this which is called raw images. So I'm going to select that. Now we need to merge these two different input sources. So I'm going to use a merge node. I'm going to use combine, and then I'll use by position, and number of inputs are going to remain at 2. And I'll let it be as it is. For the second input, I'll just connect this, click on tidy, and now it's done. Now let me just click on this plus button, and it will just upload the file in Google Drive and then merge these two. And if you want to have a look, as you can see, moisturizer is here. Now we need to create different variations. So if you remember, we chose number of variations as a field, and we chose around 5 variations. So we need to create a variation generator. So I'm going to click on the plus button, and I'm going to click on AI agent. For the user message, I'm going to change it to define below because we don't have a chat trigger node, and I'm going to click on expression, and I'm going to expand this. I'm going to write user input, and I'm going to drag and drop this one so that it's already here. Next, we need to tell the number of variations. So I'm just going to write that, and I'm going to drag and drop this number of variations here. Lastly, I'm going to write image description. So basically we will use this merge node, and then we will copy this here. So as you can see on the right side, we have a user input, we have the number of variations, and we have the image description. And if you scroll, this is a long list. So you can have a look at it, but yeah, it's not really relevant for us. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to add option to add a system message. And I'm going to get the prompt here that I have already created. So basically what you need to do is use image analysis, use instructions and variation requested. That is the inputs that we are giving, and we are giving it instruction, give a single JSON object. Now as you see here, we have number of variations. So we are naming the variations. Is it needed, subject, usage, mood, setting, and so on. So I've defined 10 different variables for an image to be generated, and basically again I've used ChatGPT's help to define what these should be. You can modify it as you want, and then I have given it what are the rules that it needs to follow. Now I'll come back, and I'll toggle this button require specific output format on. I'm going to rename this as variation generator, and then I'm going to come back here. For the chat model, I'm going to use OpenRouter. It's basically a marketplace for large language models, and I'm going to use GPT-5 mini. And if you want to know how to connect it, there is a video on top which is just a quick 2-minute setup. For the output parser, I'm going to click on this plus button, and I'm going to use a structured output parser, and then I'm going to define it basic the JSON example. So now as you can see, it is nothing but different variations and then whether it's needed or not and different variables. So variation number 1 needed true, subject city skyline at night, usage wallpaper, mood calm, setting, color, people and so on. And then it has 10 sets of these things and that's it. And if you don't want a variation, you can keep it as false as well so that it knows that it only needs 5 variation. I'm going to click on autofix format and then for the model, I will again add open router. And for this, I'm going to use GPT-5 Nano. Basically, this is a very small task, so you don't need advanced models and you need good latency for this as well. And I'm going to rename this to GPT-5 Nano. Now we need to add another tool which is called the Think tool. So basically, it is just a space for it to do some thinking and use it as cache memory if needed, and I will not change this. So it basically gives an extra edge or reasoning to your AI agents. Let me just tidy this up, and now this is set up perfectly. Now let's just run this and come back. Now that it's done, let's just look at the output, and as you can see, variation number if it's needed, and then subject, usage and all the 10 variables we defined earlier. And this is really cool. And as you can see, after 5 variation it says false and other things are empty. So this is what we had set up and this is working properly. Next, we will add a split out node so that we can split all the variations that we have. And what we need to do is basically split out the output here. Now I'm just going to click on play and this is almost done. Let's just look at the output, and as you can see, variation needed, variation number, different variables and other things are there. And as you can see, the last 5 are false because we said number of variations is 5. Now we don't need the empty variations. So what we will do is we will filter those out. We'll click on filter and then we are going to drop this variation needed and we are going to say is equal to true. So basically what it will do is remove the ones which are false and see we have now 5 items. Now we need a system to store this as well. So I'm just going to click on the plus button and I'm going to click on the sheets node. And then I'm going to click on append row in sheet, which basically means add different rows. Now I just need to select which document I want to use it for. I'm going to configure this and which sheet or tab in this particular Google Sheet I want to use it for. Now as you can see, it has populated all the columns manually. Now just to give you a brief idea, this is how it looks like. What is the image, the URL, image ID, user prompt, status, analysis, subject, usage, all the 10, and then towards the later end, final prompt, identifier and final images. Now I'll just fill it till this point so that we need to store this right now. And how we are going to do it is basically we will configure all of this. So let me just quickly do this and come back. Now that we have this, let's just quickly look at it. So for the image, I've used a function in Excel so that it displays as an image, not as a text. Then image URL, image ID, user prompt, status, I've named it variation created so that I know it is there. Then all the 10 different objects, which is the image analysis, subject, usage and other things that we have. And I've just used drag and drop. Just to give you an example, if I let's say remove this angle one, I can just drag and drop this from here. And I can do the same for other fields as well. And don't worry, again, you can copy all of this. You can either take a screenshot from this or you can go to my free school community and download it from there. We have now created the first phase of this, which is basically how should you generate the different variations basis a direction that you have in your mind. Let's look at how you will take it further and actually create prompts from it and then finally create images from it. Now, if you look at this Google Sheet, it has basically got all our variation details that we wanted. So it has 5 of these images, it has a URL, image ID, our user prompt, which is create images for people using moisturizer on the face and yada yada yada. Then it has a status, which is variation created. And then finally it has its image analysis, subject, usage, mood and so on. Just to take one example, props, tube of eye cream, mirror slightly out of focus, cream on fingertip. So it is really defined and detailed. Now let's look at what we are going to do next here. So we are going to go back to n8n and then we are going to click on the plus sign here. We'll click on manual trigger. So the idea is that, after this is done, a human can review those variations that they have in mind. Now, if you don't want to do that, you can just connect it directly as well. But I prefer adding a human variable here so that they are reviewed. Next, I'm going to add a Google Sheet node. So I'm going to search for Google Sheets. And then I'm going to search for get. So I want to get rows in sheet. So basically we need to pull the data that we have already created in the first phase. Now I'm going to choose the ones which I've created for this. And then we need to also filter this. So I'll add a filter here. And then I will select the column status. And I'll take the ones which are called variation created. I'll rename this to get variations. Let's just click on this and let's just get the data in our n8n. As you can see, we have 5 of these, and that's the number of variations we defined earlier. Now I want to create an AI agent, the task of which is to create a final prompt for all of these images. We need to define the source for prompt here, and I'm going to change it from chat trigger node to define below. I'm going to change this expression, expand it here, and get all the things here. Now, as you can see, what we have done is given it the basic image analysis. We have given it the subject, usage, mood, and all the 10 variables we had defined. And if you're wondering how I did that, just let me give you an example. Let's say I backspace this, and then I can just click on the mood, drag it, and let it paste. And I have done the same thing for the other ones as well. I'll come back. I'll click on add option and add a system message. And then I'm going to create it into an expression, expand it, and then paste the one that I prepared for it. And just giving you a brief idea of what it is, you're an image analyzer generator assistant. User prompt will contain a base image description plus 10 labeled fields. Your task, parse the prompt, ignore empty fields, create one single sentence, end the sentence with technical constraints, angle include, so on, and then there is an output format as well. I'll come back here, I'll add the chat model, and I'm going to search open router. Again, the credential video, which is just 2 minutes, is being linked in the description as well. I'm going to select GPT-5, and then I'm just going to rename this GPT-5 for ease of convenience. I'll just rename this to prompt generator, come back, and then again attach this to the same thing tool we had earlier so that it can refine its responses as well. Let's just run it quickly and see what the output is going to be. Now our prompts are ready. Let's just quickly have a look at what it generated. So clean high detail commercial photography close-up of an adult female with neutral skin tone, natural makeup, applying moisturizer, in the fresh nurturing mode, the softly blurred mirror, soft pastels, white cream, 45-degree angle, and overlay text, apply a pea-size amount to cheeks, high detail, photorealistic, crisp lighting. So as you can see, it has got all the 5 inputs, you can see all of them, and it has created good prompts. Now the next step is prompting Nano Banana with our original image and the prompt that we have generated so that it can create a new image. Now let's just click on this plus button and click on HTTP request. We are using the HTTP node because it gives us more flexibility in terms of the fact that we can also define 2 image URLs, 3 image URLs as well if we want. So basically I'm going to change the method to post. I'm going to change the URL to this one, and don't worry, it's all in the API documentation, and if you want this you can get it directly from my free school community, link is in the description. For authentication, I'm going to click on predefined credential type because we have already defined our open router account. I'm going to select open router and then scroll down, click on send body, and then I'm going to specify body by using JSON. So I'm going to again paste the one that I have here so that you can also look at this. Now if you see, model is Google Gemini, which is basically Nano Banana, role is user, type is text, this is where you give it the prompt message, and I've used json.stringify json.output. Basically what this does is converts everything into a string, and what happens is if there are 2 inverted commas at the start or at the bottom, the JSON breaks apart, and so to avoid that we have used the stringify function. And same for the image URL, we have given it the base image URL that it has, and as you can see it has changed it to that. And if we just copy paste this and open this up, we can see what this URL is opening. So as we can see, this is the URL of our moisturizer base photo. Coming back here, we will rename this to create image, and then come back here and click on this button so that this will run and call Nano Banana to generate the images, and this is going to take some time, so I'll be back once it's done. So this node is executed successfully. Let's just look at what is the output. Now, as you can see, it says we have around 11 MB of data and it may cause our browser to slow down temporarily. And basically, it's created the images, but it's in the formats of lines and codes. And that's why this may slow down our browser or our device. So what I'm going to do is generate the next steps, which I've already done, and then give you guys the overview of what is happening here. Now I've got the next step. So basically I'm using a edit fields node. You can go on the plus button and search for edit fields and you can get this one. And what is happening is basically I'm renaming the output, which is base64, and I'm using a JSON. Basically I'm removing the extra ones that are not relevant. And again, I didn't write this by myself. I just asked ChatGPT, and as you can see, it's a bunch of text lines and it's very long. It's still ongoing. So we don't need to get into this. We just need to understand how it's done. And next, I'm using a convert to file node. So what I'm going to do is click on plus and I'm going to search for convert to file. And basically what I'm doing is move base64 string to a file. Input is base64, which we have set earlier, and the output field is data. After we have converted into file, we need to upload the final image in a Google Drive. So basically, we have chosen the resource file, operation as upload, and then input data field as data. And then this is basically just a naming convention. What I've done is taken the row number, subtracted one from it, added a underscore, and then added the subject so that it's always unique. And then I've selected the drive and the folder I want to save it in. The next step is finally updating our Google Sheet. I'm going to click on Sheets, click on Google Sheets, and then update. So I'm going to click on update row, and this is the node I'm going to get. In that, again, I've selected the document and sheet I want to use. And then for the unique identifier, I've used the same one that I did earlier. Basically the name of the image, which is row number -1 underscore and the subject. I'll change the status to done so I know which ones are done. And then I'll just record the final prompt, the final image, and the image URL and image ID so that I can reference it later on. So let me just execute this to see how it pans out, and I'll come back once it's done. Now this workflow is finally done. So let's just look at the results. First we'll look at the drive. So we can see all the 5 images are here, and I think we can conclusively say they are almost realistic as well. And let's just look at our Google Sheet. So yes, it has put all of them there. It has put the URL and the image ID so we can access it whenever we want, just like this. And there's a really good image, and as you can see, 2-person scene, one applying moisturizer to partner's nose bridge with visible cream and matching hand placement. So this is really cool. Now I want to talk about few key things which will help you enhance this workflow even more. First of all, I'm going to go into the HTTP request, which is our Nano Banana node, and then I'll scroll down to the bottom, click on add option, I'll click on batching, and then image per batch, I'll click on 1, and batch interval I'll change to 5000 milliseconds. So the idea is that it will do every 5 seconds. Next, what I'm going to do is click on the settings, and then I'm going to click on always output data, and then I'm going to click on continue using error output. If you come back, you'll see there is an error branch, so let me just configure it and come back very quickly. Now what I've done is set the error message. So basically I've selected the same sheet, and then I've used the column to match, status is error, and final image is json.error. So basically whatever is the error output will get there. And what happens is sometimes Google's content policy may not allow you to create one particular kind of an image. Now some more improvements. So I did this in 2 parts. So if you look at the store variation, and then I could have next had the node as prompt generator, but I wanted a human approval or a look through step, so that's why I did that. And you can also use webhooks and connect it with your UI or your applications directly as well. And instead of using Google Sheets, you can use any other source. You can use Telegram, Airtable, or any other thing that you find comfortable. And lastly, I want to talk about one more key thing. Basically, you will see that it takes a lot of time to do this. So what you can do, select all of this, right click, and then convert 8 nodes to a sub workflow. You can define the name, whatever you want. And then once you open this up, you can see here mode runs once with all items. I'm going to select the mode and change it to run once for each item. What will happen is basically it will do parallel execution of all your images. So instead of 10 images, you can have 100 images all working at once. So within 2-3 minutes, you can have 100 workflows running in parallel and 100 images in parallel. So that is very cool. You just need to be creating this an active workflow that you can do by clicking this here. And then you need to activate your sub workflow as well. I'm going to deactivate this and then I'm going to show how you can change it to actually 100 inputs. So basically, as you see, there is a variation number and then there are different examples for it. I have capped it at 10 because it was just for demo. So basically you can cap it to 1000. You just need to tell ChatGPT generate a line which is 1000 lines long, and then you need to come back and then change the system prompt accordingly. So here as you see 1 to 10, you just need to write 1000 and then search wherever it is. So you will see 10 here, 10 here. You just need to search the 10 here and then change those to the numbers that you want. And talking about cost, it took around 5.5 cents per image, including all the prompt generation tokens and the variation generation tokens. So it's not really costly at all. And keep in mind, we are comparing it to current graphic designing freelancers. Also, this is the worst it will ever be. It is going to only improve. If you want this workflow for yourself, go to my school community, join it, come here, click on the YouTube resources, and then click on any one video. And as you can see, all the JSONs are attached here, including my notes in Excalibur. So you can get all of that for free here. And don't worry, I'll create it in a very beautiful format, something like this, and I'll also add a sticky note on the side for instructions on how you can do it. And if you like this video, subscribe it, like it, and share it with a friend who is working on an AI or automation project, so that I know I'm doing a very good job and I keep doing the same work, and it also gives me feedback. And just to give you a quick summary, we took a form where we put in a raw products image, we gave it a base direction and the number of variations we want to create, we analyzed it, stored it, created the variations, and then again stored it in our Google Sheets. Once we reviewed that, we came back, we then generated the prompts, generated the image using Google's image generation model Nano Banana, converted it to file, and then saved it in our Drive and Google Sheets for reference. And then we talked about how you can optimize this and integrate in your own workflows. That's it from my side. Thank you for watching this and see you in the next video. Have a good day.